Chapter 23, Episode 5. Artemis. Hi, Karl. Artemis had never met Karl, but Karl knew who she was. He heard her described by his sister and his mother. He had seen a couple short movies from his sister to back up the claims. Not many walked barefoot out of the woods wearing leather pants. She had been described as pretty, but Karl would have used a few more adjectives. Ah. He looked to see his boss smiling at him. Then he looked at the time. He looked out to see if she had come in a vehicle, but there weren't any cars he couldn't account for. I'm invited for dinner at your place. Okay, so let me wash my hands and I'll be right back. Artemis smiled and looked at the engine Karl had been working on. She was pretty good with engines from older vehicles. She could take apart the old tractor engine and put it back together again, but she had no idea about all the newer electronics. Do you know anything about engines? Old engines? I don't know about this one. What kind of old engines? Old John Deere tractor and an old Dodge Ram. I'm Pete, by the way, Karl's boss. Pete stuck his hand out. Artemis smiled and shook it. Artemis. Karl returned a little cleaner. Pete smiled and wished them a good night. It wasn't far to the Christian home, so Karl always walked. Can I invite you for a beer or coffee on the way? You can. Artemis noticed Karl was a little nervous. She knew why. Young females appeared as angels to men. It was evolution's masterwork. She smiled. Karl took a second to wonder if he could ask or he could take her. He decided to start walking. Karl dropped into the hog bar most every night on his way home. He almost always had one beer. Most everyone knew him. They also knew he never came in with a girl. So everyone smiled that knowing smile. Karl decided on the back deck since the sun was doing a good job of warming the place. Karl couldn't help staring at Artemis whenever she wasn't looking at him. He found it hard to hold her eyes. It wasn't just her beauty. He knew beautiful girls. He had had his share of them in high school and college. But Artemis was almost frightening, like she could see what he was thinking. Carla and I are going to my mother's wedding next month. She said, I'd like someone to look after the chickens and goats while I'm gone. You asking me? That's right. I've no idea about goats and chickens. I can show you, that's not the question. The question is, can you do it? Or do you want to? You can come and see first. There are only 2 goats and 14 chickens. You milk the goats? Every day. What do you do with the milk? Drink it, make butter and cheese. It's not a lot of milk. Karl thought about it. He wondered why she asked him. He also noticed he was a lot less nervous about Artemis when they were talking. He took a cigarette out and lit it. He couldn't imagine Artemis with a cigarette, so he didn't offer her one. He knew he would do it, not just because she was someone he'd really like to do a favor for, but to have a go at hanging out on a farm. He knew about her bows and arrows, but he'd wait to ask. I'd love to see your farm, see how you milk your goats. Great! When should I come? I usually do everything early in the morning, but if I know you are coming, I'll wait. I've got tomorrow free.